Well, for more analysis of President Obama's trip, I'm joined in the studio here by Henning Meyer. He's head of the European programme at the Global Policy Institute. Henning Meyer here in the studio with me in London. There's no doubt about it, the Europeans, certainly the European public, loved Obama. He was the rock star, if you like, yet again, as he was when he visited Berlin, when he was just campaigning. They love the fact that he is more humble. He's less arrogant than Bush. But is it because he is so different to Bush that they love him rather than really his policies? Yeah,
well, Bush is certainly the benchmark, and it was sort of relatively easy for him to appear much more lovable and much more likable. And I agree with the previous comments. He appeared much more cooperative, in a much more cooperative mood. He, during the G20, stressed several times that he not just came to contribute the American contribution, but also to listen. And this is something one hasn't heard in Europe for a long time. So I think it was a warm welcome because of that.
He almost acted in a mediating role, didn't he? He was a moderator. He moderated between the Chinese and the French. He managed to persuade the Turks to go for NATO's new Secretary General when originally they said they didn't want the Danish Prime Minister to be the new NATO Secretary General. He was the one who did smooth the way for that. So he didn't actually achieve anything productive in terms for the US, but in a mediating role he worked.
Well, that depends on what he wanted to achieve. If a different image in terms of diplomacy was what he wanted to achieve, and I think there are several arguments in favor of that, that was one of his main aims. I think he really did achieve that because he broke, as you mentioned, the deal between the French and the Chinese. He broke the deal between the Turks and the other NATO member states about Rasmussen. He was very successful in doing this, and I don't think it was a coincidence that he chose to be the mediator in these issues.
Henning, it wasn't totally harmonious when he came to Europe. For example, he and the French president, although it looked, you know, all bonhomie on the surface, they fundamentally disagree about a lot of things. And he was almost slapped down, wasn't he, by Sarkozy when he interfered and said, well, actually, Turkey should be part of the EU. France, of course, totally opposed to that.
Yeah, but also, I mean, this is similar to the G20 issue about the fiscal stimulus package. I think he did well not to focus too much on these issues because it was well known before the G20 that there wouldn't be any agreement in this particular issue.
They downplayed it all, didn't they?
Well, they focused on different things, I think, for the right reasons, because there is an argument to be made that the stimulus needs to be different in continental states because of the public and private debt situation. You have basically no way of generating a public private stimulus in the UK and in the United States because of the high private debt levels. This situation is different in France and in Germany. In Germany, for instance, the strategy is to try to make people spend more of their own money. Hence, policies such as the car premium and policies that are similar to that are the most successful ones. So you have to give it a bit of leeway and sort of let these measures that were already taken develop. So it was, I think, a wise decision not to focus on this, but focus on issues that could be achieved.
One final thought, Henning, and very, very quickly, because we are running out of time. Just how important is Europe to America and Barack Obama? Isn't the reality that his relations with China, with Islamabad, countries like that are going to be far more important in his reign, really, than his relations with Europe?
Possibly, but if you look at the core data, the transatlantic relationship is by far, in economic terms, the most important in the world. About 60% of world output, 60% of trade, and how this relationship is managed is still very, very important. Other players are coming, but the transatlantic relationship is still very much at the center.